How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day. Today we have 3 story time videos of spoiled kids. I just know for a fact that you'll really enjoy these videos, so sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's call the subscriber who submitted the first spoiled kid story time video PJ. So anyways, right, PJ had a dog. And we're just going to call the dogs PJ's dog because it was just PJ's dog. I mean, it doesn't need a name, guys. Come on now. But anyways, right, PJ would bring this dog to the dog park. He would walk it every week. When PJ's parents got PJ the dog, he was kind of like, they were like, all right, PJ, well, this is your first real big experience with some responsibility here. And PJ absolutely loved the dog. They had a great relationship. PJ also knew this kid, who we're going to call the spoiled kid. We're calling him the spoiled kid because, he was spoiled. As you know how this goes, guys. He was a spoiled. He kind of got everything he wanted. But the one thing the spoiled kid did not have was a dog. The thing was, the spoiled kid didn't really want a dog. The spoiled kid didn't really feel like, oh, I need to get a dog or whatever. That was until the spoiled kid saw PJ having fun and playing with his new lovable puppy, right? And when, the spoiled kid saw this, the spoiled kid was like, here's something that I want that I don't have. So anyways, right, PJ brought his dog to school. He didn't bring him to school for the entire day, but he asked his mom to bring the dog to pick up, not to pick up, but to, after school when all the parents come and get people or whatever, kind of like the drop off and pick up line. Basically asked, his mom to bring his dog there. So when his mom showed up, she had the dog and, PJ was kind of walking around showing off to all of his classmates and all of his friend, his new fluffy buddy, right? And that's when the spoiled kid saw this and was so jealous and so angry that the spoiled kid thought to himself, that dog will be mine. It's unacceptable. I will never let this happen. And so basically, right, the spoiled kid actually comes up to PJ. He's like, oh, PJ, nice dog you got there, man. And PJ's like, thanks, bro. I got this dog a couple months ago. It's really been it's my best friend, basically. This dog is my best friend. I'm so happy I have him. Do you want to pet him? And the spoiled kid was like, sure, PJ, I'd love to pet him. And the spoiled kid gets down on his knees and whispers into the dog's ear, you will be mine soon. And bro didn't whisper quiet enough because PJ heard it. And he's like, what? And the spoiled kid's like, oh, what? And PJ's like, well, why did you whisper into my dog's ear, you will be mine soon? And the spoiled kid's like, bro, you just misheard. I was whispering you're so cute, ha ha ha. And PJ knew for a fact that he did not mishear the spoiled kid and that he definitely heard what he heard. But anyways, PJ was like, fine, whatever. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to go back home. And PJ felt a little weird after that interaction. But honestly, PJ didn't have a ton of reasons to be that weirded out, that freaked out, or that just uncomfortable because he was like, okay, spoiled kid was like, you'll be mine. Maybe that's just I don't know, a term of endearment. I don't know, man. I really don't know. So PJ was a little weirded out, but he's like, it's fine, whatever, life goes on. And that's when, PJ, started to notice that the spoiled kid in school would come up to him, be like, how's your dog doing? And PJ's like, fine. And, spoiled kid would be like, what kind of dog food do you give your dog? Well, how often do you walk your dog? And the spoiled kid, who never spoke to PJ before, every single day in school would come up to PJ without a doubt and be like, oh, how's your dog? Oh, what's your dog doing? How's it? It's asking question after question after question and question. And PJ was just kind of weirded out. Yes, it's totally normal if someone meets your dog in school for them to then ask about it because oh, they met the dog. They know about your dog. They have maybe a little bit of a connection to it. But the sheer amount of questions that the spoiled kid was asking, PJ, that PJ just started to feel a little uncomfortable. He just started to feel a little weird. He's like, what is going on? This is really strange. So PJ said to everyone in his class, hey, I'm bringing back my dog on Friday, and all the kids in the class were pretty happy about that. But someone who was very, very happy about that was the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid normally was everything's lame, bro. Nothing's cool except the stuff at my house and the vacations I go on. And always in class, he was ignoring everything else people would say. But this time the spoiled kid was super engaged. So, PJ felt that was a little weird. He was a little bit weirded out by that. But at the end of the day, he didn't really care. He's like, okay, whatever. The spoiled kid likes my dog. Cool, whatever. That's better than, the spoiled kid hating my dog or something strange like that. It could definitely be worse. So anyways, PJ's mom brings in the dog, and once again, it is time for them to, like, the people come over and they pet the dog, and PJ's like, oh yeah, kind of like very kind of basking in the glory of his dog. And that's when the spoiled kid's like, yo, PJ, like, do you mind, we should bring the dog in the backyard. So there's like a backyard, not the backyard, but kind of like where the playground is. There's a big grassy field that's attached to the school, and PJ's like, it's actually a good idea. And he calls out to his mom, like, Mom, do you mind waiting like 5 or 10 minutes? I'm going to, go walk the dog with my friends in the backyard of the school. And his mom's like, that's fine. I'll go talk to your friend's parents or something. So sure enough, PJ, the spoiled kid, and a bunch of other kids are walking off to the backyard, or to kind of like the playground field area. And the spoiled kid is like, hey, PJ. And PJ's like, yeah, what's up, dude? He's like, do you mind if I walk the dog? Like, I really like your dog, and I'm not allowed to have a dog. And PJ's like, oh, yeah, that's sure. So, he walks over, grabs the leash from PJ, then picks up the dog and starts running. And PJ's like, dude, that's not how you walk a dog. And the spoiled kid doesn't respond. He just keeps running. And one of the kids turns to PJ like, did the spoiled kid just steal your dog? And PJ's like, no, that's ridiculous. And the spoiled kid keeps running. He's like, dude, come back. Because the spoiled kid is no longer running towards the field. He's running in a different direction. And the kid next to PJ was like, dude, I think the spoiled kid just lifted up your dog and ran away. And that's when all of them, including PJ, start running after the spoiled kid. And they're like, hey, get back here. So the spoiled kid, right, runs up to the, where all the cars are. He hops into the back seat of like his parents' car or whatever, and he just tells them to drive, and they drive away. Why do the parents drive away with a dog in the back car? That kind of beats me. I think like the spoiled kid was just in such a large car that they somehow didn't notice, which, whatever. Maybe he put him in the back seat and was just playing really loud music or something. So all of a sudden, PJ and his friends get to the kind of like the sidewalk where all the cars are, just in time to see the spoiled kid drive off. And, PJ turns to his mother being like, Mom, the spoiled kid? And says his actual name, right? And she's like, yeah, I know the spoiled kid. He just took my dog and drove off with him. And his mom's like, what? And PJ's like, yeah, I don't know. He just said, hey, he's been asking me questions about my dog all week, and he just like asked to like go walk her. And I was like, yeah, that's totally fine. Of course you can go walk her. But when, instead he grabbed her, picked her up, and started running away. Like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And, PJ's mom's like, well, and she says, hey, does anyone have like a yearbook or like one of those kind of like glossary types of books where you can go in and it shows like the phone number, the house address of like the parents or whatever. It was like one of those like contact books that some schools give out. So anyway, someone like happened to have it on them. They took it out. They found the spoiled kid's parents, and they found the address. It was 10 minutes away. So PJ, I forgot the name, PJ and his friends hopped in his mom's car and drove to that address. About 10 minutes later, they get there. And what do they see? They see the car in the driveway, and of course, the spoiled kid has a massive mansion-type park. So they get out of the car, and, they go up to the front door, and they hear a lot of noise in the backyard. They hear a pool splashing. They also hear a dog barking. So they're pretty certain that, the spoiled kid's in the backyard. So the spoiled kid's mom greets, like, PJ's mom at the door, and she's like, oh, hi, Avery, how's it going? She's like, hey, do you happen to know if spoiled kid brought a dog back with him? And she's like, yeah, it was very weird. He said that he was looking after someone's puppy for the evening. At that point, PJ's like, oh, that's my dog. Do you mind, we don't need him looking after it anymore. Do you mind if I go in the back and get my dog? She's like, of course. You can stay and go in the pool a little bit, too. It's such a warm day out, and, it's only really the spoiled kid who uses the pool. I'd love if some of his friends went back there and enjoyed the pool with him. And PJ in his head is like, yeah, friend? Bro, I don't know the last time my friend stole a dog from me, bro. But anyways, right, I digress. And sure enough, PJ and his friends, they go in the backyard, including and PJ's mom stays in the car. Because she's like, you know what, I'm going to let my kids handle it. But she told PJ, yell if you need me, but I bet you got this. So PJ and his friends go in the backyard, and they see the spoiled kid with the dog on the leash, yelling at the dog, being like, play fetch with me. And, he throws the bone or whatever, or throws a toy that he probably got a week ago when he was planning on stealing the dog, throws the toy and the dog doesn't run, because like the dog does go and play fetch, but not when he's been abducted by a rando, right? He plays fetch with his owner, bro. He plays fetch with his best friend PJ, not the spoiled kid, right? So the spoiled kid's like, oh my god, you're defective now, and he looks up and he sees PJ and all of his friends, and the spoiled kid's like, haha, hey PJ, sorry, I got a little lost while walking the dog. And PJ's like, dude, we all saw you pick up my dog, run into the car, and drive back here. Like, what was your end goal doing this? Like, this is kind of ridiculous, bro. I'm going to be real. And sure enough, right, PJ was just like, dude, I need the dog back. Like, we're bringing him back home, give him over, we're not going to make a fuss, right? And that's when, the spoiled kid's like, no, this is my dog now. He chose me when he leapt into my arms. And PJ was like, bro, he didn't leap into your arms. You literally picked him up and ran away. And the spoiled kid's like, nuh-uh, that's not how I remember it. And PJ's just like, dude, that's obviously not what happened. Get back my dog now before, I come and take the dog. And the spoiled kid's like, you know what? Just as proof to see who the dog likes better, I'm going to take him off the leash, and whoever he runs to is the true owner. So the spoiled kid takes the dog off the leash, and the spoiled kid takes out a biscuit, a treat, a dog treat, and kind of starts waving it. And immediately PJ's like, bro, that's not fair. You have food. The spoiled kid kind of looks at him and smiles. However, the dog literally doesn't even, cares so little about the treat at this point that he sprints. The fastest his dog has ever ran towards PJ, jumps into his arms, and PJ's like, you couldn't even bribe him. That's hilarious. So one of PJ's friends walks over, grabs the equipment. The spoiled kid's like, no, you used a secret dog whistle or an ancient technique to get him. He clearly loves me more. And PJ's like, bye, spoiled kid. And all the, PJ and his friends, they walk out with the dog, and you could just hear the spoiled kid running, this won't be the end of me. That will be my dog. That will be my dog by the end of the day. Do you hear me? And, PJ and his friends walk into the car. And PJ's mom is like, what just happened there? And PJ's like, dude, I don't even know. Real quick, no, not real quick. The next subscriber we're going to call Will. And basically, right, Will, there's this spoiled kid. And in the spoiled kid, they were both at this, at this amusement park. And there was a super long line. And the spoiled kid also happened to be in line for the amusement park, but he was way behind where Will was. Real quick, comment spoiled down below if you made it this far into the video. That's the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart a bunch of comments to say spoiled. Also, if you want to support the channel, the best thing you can do is just keep on watching these videos and try and watch them through the entire thing. Please let me know what you're doing while watching these videos. Are you trying to go to sleep? Are you playing a video game to clean your room, etc., stuff like that. By the way, every single episode is on Spotify, and I do my best to put these episodes on Spotify about an hour or two early before they actually go up. So if you want a little sneak preview of what the video is going to be like, or if you just like listening on Spotify better, first link in the description besides today's sponsor. So the first non-sponsored link in the description. If you want to submit these stories, these are all subscriber submitted stories. Go to either my Instagram or Twitter. Both are Connor Pugs, and if you want to know how to spell that, it's in the description. Join my Discord server. It's also in the description if you haven't done that already. And you know what? Let's just get back to the story. So Will is in line at this amusement park. And this spoiled kid is standing behind Will in line, but many, many people. So this line is really, really long. And Will estimates that he probably still has about 30 minutes left to go, and he's been standing in this line for about 45 minutes already. You guys are probably thinking, is this worth it? And to Will and the spoiled kid, yes, absolutely. There's kind of like a amusement park that is very seasonal. It's only open for a couple weeks during the summer, and when it is, there's a massive water park that is it is the thing you do if you live in this town. Literally every kid, teenager, and plenty of adults, they all show up for the couple weeks that this is around. However, because it's so popular and because it's so scarce, the lines are ridiculous, right? The lines are absolutely ridiculous. And sure enough, right, so Will is standing in this line, and he's kind of just waiting around. And that's when, he kind of hears a noise. And sure enough, behind him, there's this spoiled kid who's coming around with a big wallet full of money. And he goes to the person in front of him, and he says, hey, can I cut you for $5? And someone's like, okay, yeah, sure. $5 is a pretty big deal for just cutting one step in time. That's probably that probably adds 2 minutes, right? So basically for 2 minutes of me waiting, I get paid $5. Of course I do that. I think most people would agree, like 5 minutes to wait like 2 minutes longer is a great transition. However, the spoiled kid has basically unlimited money. So the spoiled kid keeps on getting farther and farther in the line, you know, being like, hey, can I have $5 to cut you? Thank you. Can I have $5 to cut you? Thank you. Can I have $5? And keeps going like that until he gets to Will. And the thing is, right, Will, you know, is not a fan of this. He's like, you know, I've been waiting here legitimately for 45 minutes. I didn't come up with a big stack of cash cutting people. Like, this is stupid expensive, but like, why is he doing this? So once basically, right, so when the spoiled kid eventually gets to Will and is trying to like bribe, he goes up to him. He's like kind of going through the routine because he's asked like 50 people at this point. He's like, hey, can I cut you in line? I'll give you $5. And Will says no. And the spoiled kid moves to go cut him in line because he's doing this so by routine. And Will's like, whoa, bro, I said no. The spoiled kid looks at him. It's like, dude, what's your angle? Like, it's literally going to save you, like, it's literally going to take you like a minute longer and you get $5. And Will's like, I'm just not doing it. So the spoiled kid's like, fine. Pulls out another $5. Is like, look, $10, I'll cut you in line right now. And, you know, Will's like, no, I'm not doing this because of the money. I'm doing it because of the principle. And Will's like, or the spoiled kid's like, oh, bro, are you serious? He's like, okay, fine, I get it. $15 if I can cut you in line. And Will's like, dude, I'm telling you, you could offer me all the money you have in your hand right now, and I will not let you cut me in line. The spoiled kid's like, bro, I've literally spent like $300 right now cutting in line. Are you really going to make me wait? I brought all this money just to get in this line faster. I don't even care about this money. Like, my dad just gave it to me. He just said, hey, here's unlimited credit card. I went to the bank and they gave me all this money. I don't care. This is like paper to me. Like, just let me cut. I'll give you like $25. That's all. And Will has had like $25. Do I just let this kid cut? But Will's like, no, you know what? You know, I make decent amount of money in the jobs I run. I don't need to spend money right now. I don't have a lot of things I want. I'm keeping up my word. I'm not doing it. So he says, sorry, man, I'm not going to let you cut. And the spoiled kid does not like to hear this. He does not like to hear this at all. So another thing is, like, one of the line attendants is watching this whole thing go down. And the line attendant is not liking what he's seeing. And, you know, the spoiled kid's like, fine, well, I'm just going to cut in front of you anyways. Will stands in front of him. Will takes a big step to the left and basically blocks him. And that's when the spoiled kid is like, okay, fine then. You know what? I'm just going to push my way through. So the spoiled kid takes both of his fists and like a pushes like Will kind of like out of the line. He goes flying a couple feet and the spoiled kid just walks past him. And then the spoiled kid asks the person in front of the line or in front of Will saying, hey, I'll give you $5 if you can cut me. And that's when the person, one of the people working at the park who manages the whole thing says, whoa, what just happened here? And the person, you know, so Will or the spoiled kid's like, nothing. And Will's like, no, dude, this guy offered me $5 to cut him in line, for me to cut him in line. I said no. And when I said no, he decided to just push me over and like keep moving forward. And the guy's like, whoa, man, like, is this true? And the spoiled kid's like, well, no, not really. And the guy behind Will, who watched the whole thing, who also like accepted $5 to be cut in line, saw the whole thing go down and said, no, man, that's what I saw. Like, that's definitely what happened. The spoiled kid's like, bro, these guys are lying. They have something against me. I don't know what it is, but they definitely hate me. And, you know, Will's like, dude, I don't hate you. I just didn't want you to cut in line because you have money. Like, that's just not cool. Like, we all have to wait the same amount. And, you know, the spoiled kid's like, bro. And the guy managing the line's like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to kick you out to the back of the line. And the kid's like, what? Oh, okay, man. Look. If we just keep this under wraps, if we just keep this tired, I'll give you $5. And the line attendant's like, you can't bribe me. The spoiled kid's like, fine, take all my money. And he hands him basically probably like $150 worth of $5 bills. Like a crazy sum of money. And, you know, the line attendant looks at that. I'm sure for a second he's probably thinking, bro, this is probably more than I'm going to make today alone. Oh, shit. Sorry, something just fell. It did not break, so we're good. I'm probably not going to cut this out because this will be good for retention because you guys just got jolted by something. Anyways, so yeah, the spoiled kid was like, please take all my money. Just forget about this. And the line attendant probably thinking for a second, like, dude, $150 is not bad at all. It's probably more than I'll make tonight anyways. But he says, no, I'm sorry. I'm kicking you out to the back of the line. And the spoiled kid basically gets dragged out by this guy and is just looking back at Will and is like, you did this. You did this. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the third story Shane. So anyways, right, Shane was invited over to this kid's house, and he didn't really know this kid that well because he was new to his, like, the 5th grade or whatever. It was like a lower grade. It wasn't high school. And, Shane didn't really have any preconceptions about this kid since he was new, and he was really open to making a lot of new friends. And it was Shane and 2 of his other close friends that were invited over. This was the summer before they entered 5th or 6th grade. So basically, the kid moved into the neighborhood, he was enrolled in the school system, and the mom basically wanted to give him a good chance of meeting friends right away. So sure enough, Shane and his parents... Sorry, burping on something. Sir, Shane and his parents, they drive over, and when they drive over, they kind of drive out of the normal neighborhoods that, Shane would go to or Shane drove through, and that's when they got to the gate. And, Shane was like, what's this? And Shane's mom's like, well, your new friend is living in a gated community. They gave me this passcode to give. Shane's mom rolls down her window, gives the passcode, the gate opens up, and they enter into like one of the most craziest things Shane has ever seen. Like the most extravagant houses ever, the most everything, bro. Like the craziest stuff he's ever seen. It is like the nicest houses. He didn't even know that this part of his neighborhood existed. I mean, it might have been like an adjacent neighborhood or something, but he didn't even know that this place existed. Like he didn't have a single event or friend or reason to be here, bro. It was crazy. So anyways, right, Shane, they go up to the house, and it's, bro, the spoiled kid's house is like the nicest house on the block. Like, this is a whole gated community of super nice stuff, like super nice houses, but this one is still like the nicest house out there. So Shane gets out, walks up with his parents, and he sees 2 cars parked on the sidewalk, and he can recognize right away that these are his friends' cars. So, Shane and his mom knock on the door. Spoiled kid's mom greets them. They say, oh, thank you. Like, I'm so excited for, Shane to meet my son. Like, they're going to be such good friends or, whatever they say, right? And sure enough, he goes in there and the spoiled kid's mom's like, they're all playing in the back right now. So Shane walks out and, Shane's mother sits down with the spoiled kid's mother and Shane's 2 friends' mothers and they're talking or whatever. But Shane goes to the back. And Shane sees the spoiled kid, or who he assumes is the spoiled kid, as well as his 2 other friends, in the back, like sitting down talking about something. So Shane walks up and he hears them having a conversation about cars. And Shane's a little confused why they're having a conversation about cars, but he also doesn't really question it. He's like, okay, whatever, like that's fine. And sure enough, Shane sits down and the spoiled kid's like, oh, what's good, bro? My name's Spoiled Kid. What's your name? He's like, Shane. And he's like, oh, Sean? Okay, cool. He's like, Shane. He's like, okay, whatever. He's like, I was just telling your other friends about, like, my sick car collection. And sure enough, the spoiled kid goes on to talk about how cool his cars are. And he's like, yeah, okay, so I will totally show you guys my cars first person. Like, I will show them to you. But let's just see your cars first. Did your parents come over? And, Will and the other kids are kind of thinking to themselves, like, I know for a fact we don't have super sick cars. Like, they know that they have cars that drive. They have cars that function like cars should. Like, at the end of the day, they're thinking to themselves, like, why does it matter if my car drives, if it's super expensive? Our car works, bro. But they're, sheepishly kind of like, yeah, we're parked in the front or whatever. And, sure enough, the spoiled kid and them and Shane and the other kids, they walk out to the front of the house. And the spoiled kid literally bursts into laughing when he sees the cars. He's like, oh, my God, there's no way. Because the spoiled kid knows a lot about cars or whatever. And look, dude, these are totally fine cars. They're also not like beater cars that are like $5. Like they're like still legitimately decent cars. They're not bad at all, man. Like, I mean, yeah, they didn't drive over in a cardboard box carried by like a whole like thing of mice on strings or something. They were in cars, bro. It doesn't matter how expensive your cars are. If they work, they work. And also, your worth is not judged by the price tag on your car. It's a depreciating assets, bro. It happens. Don't invest in them. Especially Don't buy him new. For the love of God, don't buy him new. Anyways, enough from my financial rants. Shane and the other two kids are looking at each other kind of like, bro, like, this kid's the worst. Because the spoiled kid, who, like, very clearly didn't even really care about these guys, was laughing in their faces because, oh, they didn't have the super expensive new model or whatever, right? And Shane is kind of just thinking to himself, okay, whatever, man. Like, maybe this kid's just, like, playing a bit or something. Or maybe he's just, like, nervous that he's meeting new people and he feels like he needs to do this. But that's when the spoiled kid is like, oh my God, come inside with me. I need to tell my mom about this. This is way too funny for me not to tell my mom about this. Oh my God, I'm crying. So Shane and the other two kids walk into the house with the spoiled kid. And they don't totally know what is about to go down, but they definitely don't expect the spoiled kid to do what the spoiled kid is about to do, right? So sure enough, the spoiled kid goes inside. He's like, Mom, come to the window now. So, the spoiled kid's mom kind of assumes that, maybe something really bad is happening. Maybe there's a reason why the spoiled kid demands that she come to the window. So not just the spoiled kid, but also Shane and his two friends' mothers come to the window. So everyone's looking throughout the window at this point. And right now, there's nothing really going on. It's just all their cars, parked out there. And the spoiled kid points, and he just starts laughing. He starts laughing his butt off, bro. He starts going crazy laughing. He's like, Mom, do you see it? Do you see it? And, it's funny because, the spoiled kid's mom is, kind of has an idea that the spoiled kid is laughing at their cars, which is ridiculous, but doesn't want to believe it. So is like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what? And the spoiled kid's like, don't tell me I need to spell it out. Like, you totally know what I'm laughing at. The spoiled kid's mom's like, no, actually, I don't. Haha, let's actually go back and sit down. The spoiled kid's like, fine, I'll say it. Look at their cars. They're poor. Just dead silence in the room. Like, it's Shane's mom, the other two kids' mom. They all look like Shane's mom, the two kids, and the two kids' mom all look at each other like, the kids are like, bro, we don't want to hang out with this kid anymore. That type of look. And, the spoiled kid's mom's like, oh, you must have misspoken. Haha, he was talking about the spoiled kid's mom basically knows that, at this point, her son has just been outed as, a really not so great person. And Shane's mom's like, oh my God, look at the time. We got to go do something with Bobby and Hank, which are the names. We'll say the names of the other two kids. And Bobby and Hank's mom were like, yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry to cut this short. We just totally forgot about an event we were going to. So they all walk out the door. And as they're getting into the cars, they look up and they see the spoiled kid still in the window, pointing and laughing. And when Shane gets in, his mom's car, Shane's like, Mom, do I have to hang out with that kid? And Shane's mom's like, no, Shane, you do not need to hang out with that kid. Trust me. In fact, I forbid you from doing it. Shane's like, all right. How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a pretty good day. Today we got a story of the spoiled brat who tries to sue the teacher, and it's actually pretty entertaining, so sit back, relax. I know you'll enjoy it, and let's just jump right into it. So anyways, this is the first story that I've gotten a POV, or the point of view, from a teacher. So the subscriber, or maybe not the subscriber, maybe the teacher isn't actually subscribed to the channel, but has a son or something who watches and wants to know if there's any fun stories. Either way, I got a story from the perspective of a teacher, and I think it's pretty interesting since I've never gotten that on the channel before. But anyways, right, so the teacher, has a kid in his class who's very clearly cheating, and let me fill you in on what's going on. So we're going to call this kid the spoiled kid, because his kid, it doesn't matter that, his parents are doing well, but his parents happen to be, or at least his dad specifically, was a very, very well-known lawyer, at least locally. He was known as, the really successful lawyer, at least locally, right? I mean, it's not national lawyer on TV or something, but this kid had a lawyer dad that was pretty successful and knew what he was doing, and he tried to take advantage of that in the worst way possible, as you will see. So anyways, they're taking a test, and it's very, the rules are very clear. You can only have, your pencil and paper. You can only have the test in front of you. You can't have notes. You obviously can't have your phone or anything else like that. However, the teacher was sitting at the front of the classroom, and we're going to call the teacher James. And just know when I say James, I mean the teacher, right? I might say the teacher James, but for a lot of this, I'm just going to say James. So just remember, That's the teacher. So James was sitting in the front of the classroom. I think he was kind of going back between like grading some old work and also kind of scanning the classroom to make sure that there wasn't like a clump of 7 people in the back of the classroom like passing notes or something like that. But, anyways, he was just kind of doing what he was doing. And that's when he noticed a kind of a suspicious glow emanating from the lap of the spoiled kid, who wasn't sitting in the very front, but also wasn't sitting super far in the back. He was kind of front middle, but wasn't too far back in the middle, if that makes sense. So he wasn't first row, but he was close enough that, the teacher could see what was going on. And, sure enough, he looks at the glow and he's like, okay, that's really suspicious, right? That's like, well, what's going on here? So the teacher kind of adjusts his head a little bit so he can get a different angle looking at what's going on, right? And sure enough, he sees what is very clearly a phone. So he decides to watch the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid looks down at his phone, touches it a little bit, types some stuff in, and then goes up and writes something down on his paper. There's a chance that he was not cheating, right? There's a very mini story I'll tell from my own experience. There was a kid in, one of my classes, or not one of my classes, one of my friend's classes, who during a vocab quiz had Google Translate out, but he had like the volume on. So in class, he put in Google Translate and it like spoke the answer, and obviously he got caught or whatever. But also like sometimes people will just accidentally leave their phones out. Like that's definitely not something that never happens, if you know what I mean. But it was very clear after, the teacher watched the spoiled kid for, a while that, no, the spoiled kid didn't just happen to have his phone out. It was very clear that he was looking down at the answers and then writing down the answers. So, James is sitting at the front of the classroom. He's like, dang, like, this is going to be awkward because, like, no teacher wants to catch their kid cheating or their students cheating. However, it's also their moral obligation and their duty to, enforce if they see it very clearly. Look, James took no pleasure in this, but like the kid was blatantly cheating and it was so obvious and he was doing it for like every single answer. James honestly like considers himself more of a chill teacher. If he sees something that's a little suspicious, but it's a one-off thing, he's not going to like investigate. He's not going to dig in looking for problems, right? He doesn't want to see that. Like there's no reason why James would want to see that. However, this was so blatant and obvious, James knew he had to do something. So as the kids were walking out, James like stops the spoiled kid and says, hey, can I just talk to you for a little bit? Like, I just need to like talk to you for a sec. And the spoiled kid looks obviously a little bit concerned because whenever teachers do that, it's not always a bad thing, but quite often isn't like, I want to tell you, you're doing so great. No, it's normally like, we got to talk about something, And obviously, the spoiled kid just, came off of cheating for the entire test, so he probably was realizing there was a bit of a correlation. So James, very kind of like awkwardly, but is like, okay, I have to say this either way. He's like, hey, like, I saw you, like, I saw what you were doing with your phone. I mean, you can't be doing that very obviously, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, like, this test, it's gonna be void because, you were pretty clearly cheating on all the questions. I just wanted to let you know before you saw like your grade and were super confused. I just want to give you a heads up, and also, I don't necessarily need to report this, because like the normally what teachers would do is they would fail you, and then they report you to the front desk. But this was like high school. So it was getting around college application season, not there yet. However, the school it was like a mandatory report that if you cheated, like it had to go on your college application, resume, whatever. It had to go in your transcript. It wouldn't be on your resume. And I cheated in high school too, so you should accept me. No, it was on your transcript. And, the teacher's like, look, like I do have to this is going to have a pretty major impact on your grade. However, I'm not necessarily going to report it, so, because I know, like, I had to apply to college at one point, I get how bad it is. However, the spoiled kid was, like, denying. He's like, no, you must have seen something that's not true, because, like, I was not cheating. And the teacher's like, well, here's the thing, like, I can't necessarily say for 100% what you were doing on your phone. However, I made it pretty clear, and I make it clear consistently that, if you have your phone out during a test when it's clearly stated that you can't unless I say you may have your phone out, which I never will. There's no way for me to tell if you're cheating or not. So unfortunately, I just got to assume that, even if you were just like texting a friend or something. And that's when the spoiled kid kind of makes a mistake, because maybe he would have gotten away with it a little bit more. But he said, dude, like, I don't even have my phone in class today. And that's when, James, the teacher, is like, okay, this kid, like, James would have been, like, much cooler about it if he just, like, was like, yeah, I'm sorry, my phone out, like, whatever, right? I'm not sure if James would have given him a great grade, but maybe he would have been a little bit more generous. But when the kid was lying to his face, like, James was like, all right now, come on, buddy. And James is like, dude, like, I saw you with your phone. Like, lying like this is not a good look. Like, I'm trying to help you here. Like, I would like to help you here. But, look, you can't just be lying to my face. And the spoiled kid's like, dude, I swear. And James, like, looks at his pocket. And, guys' pockets, at least very consistently, and it's true for me, one pocket is your wallet, like keys, headphones, obviously, like earbuds or ear pods, or not like Beats headphones or something, right? And then whatever else is in the left pocket. Right pocket is your phone. Maybe it's different for you guys, I don't know, but that's very consistently like a very standard guy thing, because we got the big pockets on our pants, and trust me, I love it. Like, I'm very happy about that. So, but the thing is, right, the teacher saw like immediately looked at like the right pocket outline, and there is very clearly a phone. So the teacher points at his right pocket that is like phone shaped and is bulging out, is like, hey, like, I'm gonna need you to, like, I don't necessarily believe you, but I might if you empty out that pocket. The spoiled kid goes down to touch his pocket. Very clearly the phone is in there. The spoiled kid's like, I'm not doing anything. And the teacher's like, well, if you're not going to empty out that pocket, then I just have to assume that there is a phone in there and that what I saw was correct. Like, that's just how it has to go. Like, I'm sorry about it. I mean, at this point, James really wasn't that sorry, because this kid was this kid was cheating, and like, James, the teacher, was trying to be like cool with him and trying to give him as many outs as possible. However, this kid refused to listen. So the kid storms out of the classroom, and James is like, you know what? I really could report this, but, even though this kid's kind of a butt, like, this kid is really not the greatest. You know what? I was a teenager once too, prefrontal cortex is not fully developed here, whatever. That's fine. I'm still going to fail him on this because that's just how it goes. However, I'm not going to be the worst and submit him like to the college application process or whatever. I'm not going to report it to the school, because they legally would have to or something. Next day comes in. Spoiled kid sits in his seat. Is just like not, because like at this point it's just it's a normal teaching day, and James goes on to say, hey, I'll probably have your tests finished grading by the end of the week. And, the spoiled kid's not participating in class. Not that he normally would, per se. However, now he especially didn't. But anyways, at the end of class, the spoiled kid begins to walk up to James's desk. And he's like, okay, like, in James's head, he's like, okay, this kid's probably coming up to apologize. I'll just explain to him that no, I did, because he's probably like afraid that I reported him because of the way he acted yesterday, and I'll tell him that I didn't. And instead of doing any of that, the spoiled kid leaves, like, takes like a printed out letter, puts it on the desk, and says, read this, and he walks out of the classroom. So, at this point, James is like, oh, maybe he's just embarrassed to apologize to me in person, and he wrote it down. But no, this was like, he picks it up, and it was like a formal attorney letter or a formal lawyer type letter. And it was like, dear Mr. James, insert last name, right? You are being like, I'm the lawyer that represents spoiled kid. And remember, this is all in like a fancy legal jargon. This is not in the way I'm saying it. But what I'm trying to say is basically the lawyer says, I represent the spoiled kid, right? And that you caused a lot of, I don't know. And the lawyer, it was like from his dad's desk or whatever. And it was like, you caused my son a lot of like great pain, anguish, emotional trauma, etc. And you will be, unless you like change the circumstances, which is like not fail him, that we will bring you to court or whatever. And while James, the teacher, found the letter extremely suspicious, because would you really hire a lawyer to say, oh, you better give me a better grade on my test? That just never really seems like something that a lawyer would get involved in. However, it was still kind of frightening because it seemed like a pretty legit letter. It turns out the letter itself was legit, but we'll get into it later, that the story is a little bit more complicated than that. So James is like, okay, I don't know what to do here. However, what I do know is that tomorrow, which is, tomorrow is parent-teacher conferences. So, I will be able to, I'm not going to talk with James about this because I don't know. I just don't think that's a good idea how to go about it, right? However, I will talk to his parents about it because hopefully they are a little bit more, reasonable. So the next day comes around and the spoiled kid's in class. And once again, he's not participating, not doing anything, which wasn't that unusual. However, obviously with the circumstances, things were a little bit different. And by the end of class, he actually walks up, once everyone's left, he walks up to the desk and is like, hey, he's like, hey, James, or Mr. whatever, you saw my letter. And the teacher's like, I haven't read it yet. Kind of just stalling, right? Kind of just, he was bluffing a little bit. And the teacher's like, but I'll read it tonight. And the spoiled kid's like, I think you'll really want to read it. I really think you'll want to read it. And obviously the teacher knows what the letter is. He read it, but as you know. But anyways, though, the teacher's like, I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of knowing I read it yet. And so anyways, parent-teacher conferences come around. And eventually it's time for James, or the spoiled kid's parents, to come in. So James is like, hey, how's it going, guys? And they're like, oh, well, good. And I think the same for our son, right? He's only reported that things have been going well. And that's when the teacher realizes that, oh, so your dad isn't involved. Because the thing is, right, if, James's or the spoiled kid's dad was, truly involved in this lawyer case or whatever, because the desk came from his front office, right? Or the letter came from his desk front office type thing. He would have known that, something bad was not going, like something not good was going on. So this is when James is like, okay, well, I don't think the parents are cued in on this. So James goes on to say, hey, I hope you're having a good time right now. I don't have the greatest news for you, but it's pretty important that we talk about it. So they both kind of drop their more friendly faces and have more of a serious oh God, what's going on? And James explains everything and also takes the letter out of the desk. And at this point, the mother of the spoiled kid is very maybe emotional is the right word, but also it's not perfectly explaining what she's kind of more flustered, right? She's like, oh my God. At this point, the spoiled kid's dad is furious because he's like, I don't know how he got this. This is the spoiled kid's dad goes on to explain that the letter that, that James received was a template, was basically a template where, he had a bunch of those, he printed them out basically at his home office. I guess basically the spoiled kid got into his computer somehow. He got access to his computer and he found the template. He filled in his own little description or whatever. He printed it out and he made it look like a legit thing. His dad is like, I will be having a talk with him when I get back. This is insane. And both the parents were saying thank you so much for not reporting this. You had all the every right to do so, and if you do actually do so, I will understand that obviously this is better for our son and we appreciate it, but they say wow, this is insane. We will deal with it. You don't have to deal with it. So the next day, James does come into class. However, the kind of arrogance that he came in the last 2 days with because he thought, oh, I'm going to sue the teacher and get a better grade, was completely gone from his strut. All that swag or whatever in his strut was completely gone. And after about a week, the spoiled kid came up very begrudgingly to the front office, or not the front office, to the front desk and dropped another letter down and kind of walked away. But this one was not saying, I'm going to sue you for everything you have. This one was saying it was an apology letter. Yeah, it was a little forced. Yeah, it definitely wasn't genuine. But, the teacher thought, well, this is better than being sued. So on to the second story of the video. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Zach. So anyways, Zach had a girlfriend of 3 years. And this story is about betrayal. And it's very interesting. I know you'll enjoy it. So make sure to stick around. Zach and his girlfriend had been around for at least 2 plus maybe 3 years at this point. They were very close. They had been, at this point they met in sophomore year of high school. So junior year, senior, they were just starting college or whatever, or it was the summer before. who even knows? I think they were even going to the same college because they just assumed that they were going to be married and things were going to be great. But anyways, right, Zach has his girlfriend over one night. And, she was just staying there, and she was acting a little weird. And Zach was picking up on it, but he didn't want to say anything because she would have been like, I'm not acting weird. You're acting weird. I hate you. No. You know what I mean, though? Like, you just sometimes you get a sense of something, but since there's nothing concrete to back up what you're saying, you just don't want to say anything about it. But Zach was definitely getting the vibes that something here is not right. Something is really weird. I don't totally know what's going on, etc. Right? And so he just, something's just kind of strange. And at this point, they're in his basement. So Zach he doesn't live at his own house. He still lives with his parents, hopefully temporarily in his mind. However, the basement is basically his, but they do have a guest room. And when the guest comes over, like, they're allowed to sleep up there. So, James and his girlfriend they normally hang out in the basement area, but she'll eventually go up to sleep in the guest room. And his parents are gone, right? The only reason that she's over is because, his parents are gone. They're, like, aware that she comes over, and they don't care, but they don't necessarily want, like, to be there when she's there, if that makes sense, right? And, they both go upstairs, and his girlfriend's like, hey, like, I don't know, like, I'm kind of tired. I think I'm going to go to bed. So he's like, oh, okay, that's fine, right? And he goes upstairs, and he just hears, like, for the next, like, hour or so, he hears this really weird, like, rustling noise and, like, basically the noise of someone above moving around. And while it was very weird, he didn't think much of it. And eventually, he went to sleep. And Zach went to sleep upstairs in his, like, childhood room, which was, like, on the second floor or whatever. And that's when he heard, like, footsteps going down the stairs. And he thought, sure, this is a little weird. But also, like, his girlfriend had been over to his house many times before. She knew where the kitchen was. Zach just assumed that, okay, maybe she, went downstairs. She wanted to get some water or something. Or just a reasonable explanation, the television was also downstairs. Maybe she just couldn't go to sleep, wanted to watch something to kind of, lull down her mind or whatever. A million explanations that Zach was very comfortable with. So Zach went back to bed. And the next day came around, and, his girlfriend kind of left earlier than Zach expected. Like, he kind of expected, because, like, his parents weren't going to be back for, like, till late in the afternoon. Kind of expected his girlfriend to, sit down, lunch, breakfast, maybe lunch, maybe chill out a little later, and then just, like, very nonchalantly leave eventually. But after, like, breakfast at, like, 9 a.m., she was like, or 10, not 9, that's a little early. On a weekend for them, right? 10, let's say. She was just out of there. She's like, hey, I'm so sorry, I gotta go. Zach was like, okay. And, she had this big suitcase or whatever type thing because she just liked to overpack pretty often. This is kind of important for later in the story. It's why I'm adding this detail. I sometimes just add detail to make it more lively and more, you can understand it more, but this is actually an important detail. She came with a very big suitcase, but, she was also known to overpack, so we didn't think much of it. So later that day, Zach goes back down, and he wants to he just wants to chill for a little bit, so he goes to wherever his Xbox used to be. It used to be sitting on, like, this table, and it was just gone. It was not on the table, and but the two remote control kind of like Xbox controller type things were still on the table where they were before. And Zach is like, I don't remember moving this. So for the next 30 minutes, Zach looks all around his basement, and then afterwards all around his house, and he's come to the conclusion that the Xbox is not there. He does not for a second think that it was like that. He doesn't connect it to his girlfriend for a second, but we'll see how that goes. But he thinks, oh my God, there's someone break in. So he goes to he's like thinking about like calling his parents to like call a robbery. He looks around the house. He finds that every other valuable, especially like every other electronic that is valuable, is still there. And it was all very obvious. Like, there was like a computer sitting there. There was like an iPad. It was like everything else that would have been stolen was not. And Zach was super confused why only his Xbox was taken. So anyways, Zach tells his parents, they file an investigation or whatever. And the police can't really do that much because you're handing them zero evidence besides something was in my house. Now it's gone. And, so the police weren't that much of a help, but at least it was, like, filed just in case there was, like, another case of, like, the Xbox robber or something that robbed his neighbor or something, so we could, I don't know, right? They just reported it. But a week later, Zach is like, damn, like, my Xbox is gone, dude. I can't do anything about that. Whatever. He goes over to see his girlfriend's house. And his girlfriend actually has her own, like, okay, she doesn't have her own house, but her same situation, parents are gone, lives in the same, because, like, they're about to go to college, like, most people still live with their parents, like, at least the summer before college, like, that's pretty common. Goes over there, and they're just chilling. She's, like, not as weird as she was, like, the night that, like, a week ago, but so Zach doesn't really think of anything. Zach brings up, like, like, you're not going to believe this. Like, I think someone, like, came in my house and robbed me. And she immediately went, like, cold for a second. Like, she was like, what do you mean? And Zach found the response, like, a little awkward, but whatever. And he's like, oh, dude, like, someone came in and, like, my Xbox, I'm pretty sure it's gone. Like, I walked downstairs and where it was last night, it's just gone, right? His girlfriend's like, oh, are you sure you didn't just, like, misplace it or something? And Zach's like, well, that's what I thought initially, but I literally searched everywhere and, like, definitely at this point, there's a chance that it's, like, in some closet, in some box, but I would have, like, I was playing it, like, before you came, like, literally before you came, and then, the next day it's gone, and Zach is, like, in retrospect, Zach says, okay, it's pretty funny that I didn't put two and two together right here, but he didn't, because why would he believe that his girlfriend would do anything like that? It just doesn't make sense, I guess. And his girlfriend looking very uncomfortable. Zach does not put two and two together again. Ugh. Got something in my throat, sorry. And he's like, it's just so weird. But anyways, right, it's whatever. Like, I just won't really be able to play Xbox this summer. I'll be forced to go outside. That's fine. There's worse fates. And his girlfriend, looks a little bit more comfortable as the conversation topic changes, which in retrospect, Zach is, like, super suspicious, but at the time, he didn't think anything of it. So his girlfriend's like, all right, well, a little while later, like an hour later, she's like, okay, I'm going to go out and, like, we don't have anything for lunch. I'm going to go and, like, grab us something. And there's, like, a local, or I don't know, there's a food place nearby, like 10 minutes away. So she'd be gone for 20 minutes total. And, she gets up, she goes in her car, and doesn't offer Zach to come with her, which might have just been, I don't know. For some reason, right, Zach is still in the house and she's gone. Maybe Zach said, I just want to chill, or maybe she just drove off without even asking. Who knows? And Zach is a little bored. 10 minutes go by, so it's probably about 10 minutes till she returns. And he's just kind of, like, walking around. He's like, oh, well, just kind of, like, walks upstairs. Because he knows where the bathroom is. He doesn't know where the bathroom on the first floor is, but he knows where the bathroom is on the second floor. So he walks up, and the bathroom is right next to her room. And the door to her room is right open. So he kind of just wanders in, like, whatever. He's just curious about stuff. He wanders in, and you know what he sees? In the closet that is open? An Xbox. And he knows for a fact that she does not play Xbox. And if she does, she hasn't told him, and, he's a little hurt because he wanted to play some Xbox games together. It's like, my girlfriend plays Xbox, and she doesn't want to play with me? However, it's not a coincidence, right? No, this is not her Xbox, because Zach goes in, looks at it more closely, and because, Zach's mom, years ago, when he got the Xbox, made him write his name on the back of the Xbox in case it ever got lost or something, or for some reason, right? It was a little like, really, Mom? Like, are you serious? But in this case, Zach is very thankful that his mom made him do it, because Zach checks the back of the Xbox, and sure enough, in the same blue marker he used 4 years ago, it says ZACH, baby. It's his Xbox. And he's like, oh my God. And that's when Zach is starting to realize, like, he's like, but no, like, no, he's still in a little bit of denial at this point. And that's when he's just like, at this point, he's like, you know what? I'm already snooping. This is very suspicious. I'm just going to keep snooping. So he looks around the room, trying to find any other evidence of, like, why this would be the case. And he's thinking to himself, why would she say that I just forgot it when she knows that she has it? And he's like, oh, maybe she's pulling a surprise on me, and she's, like, upgrading it or something and wanted to be delusion right now. Zach admits that what he was going through was just pure delusion. He didn't want to think his girlfriend was going to do this to him. I don't blame the guy. But that's when, he notices that her computer is on sleep. And apparently she had it, like, set that, maybe she was just, like, so, and it was, like, desktop, right? So she was probably just so, like, annoyed with putting in her password that she had it set that, you didn't have to have a password to go into her computer. So he literally just clicked on it. It woke up, and he didn't have to do any digging because it was open to a web page. You know what that web page was? That was an eBay page. And you know what that eBay page was selling? His Xbox from her account. And there was like 3 bidders on it already. He opened it up, and I think there's like a messaging part on eBay where you can message someone. I don't even know. Either way, there was like someone who was clearly about to buy it. And that was probably the reason why, she had it out to like show photos to prove that like it was in good condition or whatever. And Zach is looking through. Sorry, my nose just died right there. Zach was looking through the photos, and one of the photos was the back of the Xbox that said his name on it. Oh my God. Zach was not a very happy camper. So he grabs the Xbox. He takes a photo of, the eBay page or whatever. He goes downstairs, and he sits on the couch, right? He's sitting on the couch like, what happened when he left, as to make it seem like he was just in the same place he was the whole time. However, next to him on the couch was his Xbox, right? And, his girlfriend comes back and she's like, all right, I got stuff. And Zach's like, I'm in here. And she's like, well, the food's out here. You should come. And Zach's like, no, I got something. There's something pretty crazy on TV. You got to see it. So she's like, okay, fine, whatever. And sure enough, she walks in the room. She's like, what's on TV? And looks at the couch. And she sees his girlfriend. Or sees her girlfriend. I can't speak. Damn it. Sees her boyfriend. And next to him, sees the Xbox she stole. So Zach's immediately like, okay, what's good with this? Why are you trying to sell my Xbox? And she immediately is like, breaks down into tears, is like, I didn't want to do this. I'm tight on money. I need to. And he's like, what, is someone trying to kill you, dude? Like, why do you need money so bad? And she's like, it's stupid. Like, you're not going to understand. Like, all the girls are making fun of me because I don't have the insert item that, insert the mimemic desire item of choice of the year, right? Whatever. And obviously, Zach and his girlfriend are not very happy. They have a fight a little bit. And Zach at the end of it is basically, or like verbal fight, by the way, just clear. Being very clear. She's like, I gotta go back home, but I'm taking this with me. And she's like, no, but I already have a buyer. And Zach's like, yeah, but you're trying to sell my stuff. Like, that's ridiculous. So anyways, Zach grabs his Xbox and she's like pleading with him, like, no, I can explain this. He's like, all right, well, explain it tomorrow because I'm not very happy right now. You'll have a better chance of making me not angry if you talk to me tomorrow. So, short story, or short ending to a long story. They don't stay together. Yeah, that 3 years or whatever that they've been together, that good relationship, all the parents and family members that know each other because of this, nope, all gone because, she needed the $400 for an Xbox or something. Moral of the story is just don't beat this girl, please. God.